and ever-changing news, and computer terminology. Commodore news. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Hello and welcome to episode 22 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills and I am joined as always by Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last week we looked at our first batch of games from issue 11 of Zap 64, which we are in no way affiliated with, and we were quacked at by Kane, dulled into the doldrums by Dragonskull, and uplifted by Iridium. In episode 22, which covers the pretty average month of March 1986, we're going to be concluding our look at the games from issue 11 of Zap 64, along with what was going on at the cinema and on TV that month. Graham, tell us exactly what we have to look forward to in this episode.
In this glam rock band of an episode, we see if everyone really does like baseball with the game Hardball, try and figure out the mathematics and the plot of Quake Minus One, and see if boards really don't hit back with the blocky bosses of Kung Fu Master. We also wonder if Ark of Yesod was a true sequel or a cunning repaint, before tripping over the smelly game turds of Deathwake and Critical Mass and flying headfirst into a dinosaur crap with Yabba-Dabba-Do. Let's leave our shoes outside.
Fernando. So let's move things along and take a look at our first game.
Okay.
Which is our first game, which is Hardball. I got a hardball for you, Graham.
I got a hardball for you.
Ah, yeah.
Will you take care of it? I got a hardball for you. Bow, 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 bow. It's a very housey sounding thing, that. I got a hardball for you.
Don't strike out on the hardball.
Hardball.
Graham,
is
tell us
a
about hardball. Go on.
Hardball, baseball. Everyone loves baseball. It's a baseball game. It's a baseball simulation. Could you call it a simulation? Sports game. And Baseball game. And you do all the things that you do in baseball. Choose teams, choose pitches. My knowledge of baseball is that's it. Exhausted. Do all the stuff that you do in baseball. People say it's like Rounders. It's not like Rounders, though. That would be an insult to the people that play professional baseball. It's an impressive looking game, this. It's got a nice polish to it. It is a baseball game, and there's some nice touches to it. So, but the one thing it is way better than the other baseball game that we played back in episode 1, 2, 3, whatever it was.
World Series.
So this is way better than that. So the first thing to say is that they've got the positions and the way you play the game right. So you play in the game, you can be the batter or the pitcher, and you can do all of that. You play all the positions of the game. You pick your team. You choose.
Your knowledge of baseball is amazing.
Well, well, I'll come back to that actually. But so you pick your teams. You play baseball, right? My problems began a little bit because I don't know a lot about baseball, and this game assumes that you know a lot. So if you like baseball and you know the rules of baseball and you understand what it means, obviously 3 strikes and you're out. Everyone knows some of the basics, but this is a game that's actually dives into the complexities of baseball, the types of pitch, the types of communication that exists between the pitcher and the umpire, or whoever that guy is with the face mask on who sits behind the batter. All of that stuff, and don't get me wrong, it's all amazing because it's quite detailed, and you get right into the nitty-gritty of it. You can play. I couldn't actually get this game to play one player, but there is a way of doing that. So I couldn't tell you how hard it was to play one player or not, but my feeling was that it was actually quite a playable game, and that you could get a good innings out of it, to use a baseball term.
Well done.
My only issue with it was that you needed a fair amount of baseball knowledge to really understand it. I imagine that would come with the instructions a little bit as well, which I didn't have to hand. So I go by what I was presented with, and this is an Accolade game. We'll come back to Accolade. They're going to come back with some really interesting titles, Test Drive and other stuff on the C64 to name but a few. But this has got an impressive look and feel. The graphics are halfway decent, actually. It looks like a baseball game. And it doesn't just adopt the standard kind of orthographic, 17 miles above the pitch kind of picture view with little dots running around between the dots and all that. You know, you get an idea that this is a baseball game. Graphics, players, the animations on the sort of player the pitcher when you throw in the pitch and the batter and all that's all good. And the way it kind of plays out. I thought it was a decent sports game, and it looked like it really abided by the baseball rules. I didn't understand what they were. So that's my problem with it. I thought it looked like a great game to play if I'd have been into baseball, but because I wasn't quite into it, I kind of clicked my way around and managed to find a way of pitching and doing stuff. But that was kind of my interest peaked because I'm not into it. Later down the line, when we play 4th and Inches and other American football games, that's a different matter. But when we play baseball games, it's not quite my thing. But it has to be said, this is a nice looking game and it plays really well and it's slick and you can really play a good round of baseball in it or a good innings or whatever the hell you do. But I found that it was a little bit of a barrier. But you know what? This is what my notes were. It's decent enough if you A, like baseball, B, understand baseball, and C, baseball. So there you go. What about you?
Comprehensive. I like it. Yeah, I probably know a bit more about baseball than obviously you do.
Well, I know very little.
You know, very little, obviously. So I think let's not beat around the bush. Accolade American. This is an American game, but made for an American audience primarily. Sort of, they were very much into their baseball over there. So I imagine the American Commodore 64 owners lapped this up because this is technically really, really impressive. That behind the pitcher viewpoint for throwing, for pitching the baseball at the batter, where it's caught by the catcher who sits behind him. Not the umpire. The umpire is the one behind him. So I think he's the one who Frank Drebin played in Naked Gun.
Yeah.
You're out and all that stuff. That's him. So it's all very, very beautifully animated. You can pitch, a slider, a spin ball, all kinds of different pitches and place them in different places. You can really tell as well, if you're quick enough, whether this is going to be a ball or whether it's a legitimate pitch that you can actually, hit because you can strike out, or you can, let it go if it's a ball and therefore you get a free hit and you get a move and that's fine. And I think it's 4 balls and you get a free run to the next stop. The next base, first base, second base, third base, and you get round and you do that. It's good. I really, really like this. It is. I've got it in one player. I've played a one player game. The computer is hard but not infallible. But it's not infallible, and that's quite good. Sort of thing. They will, try to hit your illegal balls. Which, because if you do them, they don't just know that this ball is. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So it is not infallible. It plays a good game of baseball and it looks really good and it's got a lot of razzmatazz to it. The controls are pretty decent, even when the ball, when it takes the sort of bit more the bird's eye view when you do actually get to hit it and the runners are all legging it to the bases. You can steal bases and everything like that. There's a lot going on. This is a really good game of baseball. If you like baseball. But I think that even if you don't, the visual chops on display here are gonna draw you.
Pretty game.
You're gonna want to look at this. And this, like you said, there was a series of this. There was Hardball. We'll look at the Crapvert a little bit later. There was Psyops.
Softball, medium ball,
no, there's
squishy ball.
Came out quite quickly. There was Hardball. There was Psyops, and there was Law of the West.
Yes.
All these games seem to take a graphical jump up. And this one was the first of those, and I think it's a really smart looking version of baseball. It is baseball though, so your mileage will always vary with just how much you want to play baseball. But I don't know of much that comes after it that beats this. That I saw other sequels advertised when looking around for a very Hardball 2, Hardball 3, whatever. But as an out of the gate release, yeah, this is really impressive.
That's the curse.
Got 93% in Zap. It's $9.95. One of those full price titles that's probably, you can see the work in it. It's worth it. This is a really good sports sim. Doing what for the sport it's doing it really well.
Yeah, it does it right. Take a note, Ian Botham. Just take a note.
Take a note, Jimmy Hill, with your baguette.
Just take a note. Yeah, do take a note. No, if you're going to do sports games, do them properly.
Yeah, exactly. No, this is really good. I really like this, and but. We'll put the caveat on it. I think the caveat needs to be there. You got to.
Yes,
it's baseball.
Like baseball. Do you have a favourite baseball team?
The Boston Red Sox.
You said that in a kind of Robotronic first team that came to your mind kind of way.
The New York Jets. No, they were an American football team. The Mets.
The Mets.
Is it the Mets?
Yeah. Do you know my favourite baseball team is our local team, Brinkston Spoilers. Great little team they are. Great little team.
I don't have a favourite baseball team.
No, I don't.
The Boston Red Sox. That was me going.
My knowledge of baseball extends to that episode of The Simpsons, I'm afraid, and that's about it.
Daryl.
Daryl Strawberry.
But that was 1993 and of no use nowadays.
No.
No, things have moved on.
Hardball, good. Go play.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's fun. It's enjoyable. A great looking advertisement for what the C64 can do.
Yes,
Good game.
and Accolade did. This was the beginning of Accolade's great run because they have some really great games, Accolade. So
Yeah, that's what I said. There we go. Hardball. Enjoyable. 93%. Yes, spot on. Spot on.
Dun, 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 dun. That's what happens in baseball, apparently.
Let's move on. Please, for the love of all that's for the love that's all that's holy. Let's move on. All right,
You're
yeah,
out.
let's move on to Stop. To our next game, which is a bizarre equation, Quake Minus One, which I don't know what it equals. What's it equal? What's Quake? Is this some kind of bizarre Euclidean maths?
-1 what?
Quake Minus One.
So it's quack because that'd be -1 letter.
Quack. Or wacky.
Wacky. Yeah.
Or cake. Anyway, Quake Minus One. So Mike Singleton game. He did it with someone else, but this has been around, supposedly been looked at and around for ages. So the story for what is Quake Minus One? Quake Minus One. Humans build a mega power plant, as we tend to do, and unfortunately, we use robots to power it and do something with it.
Schoolboy error. Never trust the robots.
No, because they obviously do what robots do. They take it over and threaten to destroy it, causing a cataclysmic earthquake that will destroy everything on the east and west coast of the Atlantic. Californians are not bothered. Neither are the Russians, neither are the people in any other place. China, don't care. It's just us.
Yeah.
Although we'd be protected, part of us would be protected by islands, so that's all right.
Oh yeah, Wales,
Unless you live in Ireland, it's bad. Wales would get some. Cornwall would be gone.
Liverpool would be okay.
Bay of Biscay.
I always want to say the Bay of Biscuits. It should be the Bay of Biscuits. Just name it that because it should be the Bay of Biscuits. And do you know what?
if the
What
Bay
a
of
lovely
Biscuits-
place to go.
If the Bay of Biscuits was a biscuit, what biscuit would they be?
Oh my God. Do you know, you got me thinking now. What has a lovely crinkly edge but a crumbly texture? That's probably
Hobnob.
going to be, hobnob maybe. What are you on about? Just Quake -1.
Sure is.
Yes.
Quake Minus
yes,
One. All right, so this power plant consists of 5 bases called Zeus, Poseidon, Vulcan, Ares, and Hermes. And the human scientists have managed to take back control of Hermes. So you can go in and take control of various robots and try and navigate your way around this hexagonal map thing, trying to take back the 4 other bases, Zeus, Poseidon, Vulcan, and Ares, to stop the cataclysmic earthquake happening. That's the plot of the game. That's what you've got to do. So there's a little hint of Paradroid here. Robots have taken over something and you've got to go in and take it back. So there's a bit of plot vibes from Paradroid. But obviously this was in production before Paradroid, so who knows? It's not a particularly original sound. Robots take over, go in and sort them out. So this sees you, it's a first-person view, so there's a little bit of the Eidolon as well in that first-person viewpoint, because it is a bit of a shooter, so in the fact that you fire rockets and stuff, so there is a bit of a first-person shootery thing to this. You traverse pathways through an icon system. For God's sake. It's hard to describe this game, I found, because there's a lot to it. If we look at the visuals, let's take the visuals. So the game presents you with a sort of 3D view in the top third of the screen, which shows you can move around, you can move left and right, and then there's these pathways that lead to the various node points on these tracks you have to go down. They may be blocked by robots that could be your own robots, or they could be the enemy robots. If they're enemy robots, you then need to initiate combat and fire different attacks at them. If they destroy you, you can then take control of one of your other robots, which could be placed somewhere around the map. If you get attacked, because everything's happening in real time, so their robots are moving around, they will attack you. You can leap to that robot, so you can kind of do that Paradroid thing of jumping, you take over different robot to sort of fight them. And this is all done through the icon system at the bottom. It's really hard. It's a very hard game, and at first, absolutely almost incomprehensible. You just get destroyed, and you're trying to work out what's going on. You're trying to turn, and a robot turns up, and suddenly you're dead, and the screen goes black, and you're in another one, and the map screen appears. And as you play it, though, and as you start to sort of try slowly get your head around it, you kind of see what they were going for here, and it's might not entirely 100% work, but this is a game that I put rewards perseverance, and if you dig into it, it's going to offer a stiff challenge, but I could see easily losing several hours to this as I try and get my head around it and jump from robot to robot and pursue this task of taking them over. In that sense, there's also hints of hacker, I thought. So we've got some kind of weird amalgamation of hacker, Paradroid, and the Eidolon going on here in some, and visually it's really nice. The sound design is kind of abrasive, but I quite liked it. It's hard to say whether I liked this or whether it was just I'm sort of impressed by what's going on with it. I'm not quite sure. But there's definitely something there. And I think if you are into these kind of dig into them and want a challenge and something that doesn't give you it all from the get-go, you have to try and figure out what's going on. This is, there's not much else like this on the 64. The amalgamation of those three games, which we've liked to varying degrees, but both of us or not. But I don't know. It's an odd one. I think if it gets its hooks into you, I think you've got to be all in. But I think it's hard for it to get its hooks in because they're very well hidden behind something that's quite obtuse and hard to navigate at first. That was my take on it, which may not make a lot of sense, but this is a weird game. What did you think?
Yes, I agree, essentially. I found it impenetrable, really. I was confronted with a lot of stuff with this game. Loads of stuff to click on. I didn't have the instructions initially. I did look them up to figure out what the hell I was doing, and you need those. You need the instructions. You need to be able to understand the base controls of what it is you're doing. I found the graphics were interesting but flicky, bit annoying. It juddered around a bit. It was an interesting concept, and there's a great game in there, in that concept somewhere. I like the idea of taking control of the computers and all that kind of stuff, and clicking on the different view and traveling around the different sort of, I don't want to say network, but you've got that kind of nice 3D graphic in the corner where you map. It has all the elements of something that's probably really good should you get into the space of the game and spend time with it. I didn't do either. I found the graphics were nice, but put me off. I wasn't into that kind of chunky, bas reliefy, Cronus Rifty blockiness that they sort of presented. There was a lot of stuff going on the screen. I wasn't sure how much of it was really anything to do with me or whether I should be shooting. I was able to choose weapons and shoot different things and move around, and I got to grips with that. I just wasn't sure what I was really doing as part of that. It didn't give me much visual information about what things were what and why. And because of that, I just found myself suddenly shooting down a road. I'd be confronted with some, I guess, spaceship vehicle thing. I don't know what it was. I would shoot something at it. It would blow up. I would then head down that road, and then I'd be stuck. I would then turn around and go down another little chute, and then I would pick a pathway in. And I guess in this context of knowing more about the game, it all makes sense. And I think what it requires is perseverance, instructions, and some dedication and time. And in there's a great game, I think, actually. And like you say, an amalgamation of some good ideas altogether. I just didn't quite get on with it. I think I'm too instant gratification for a game like this. I'll need to know what I'm doing quite... I need to know what I'm doing quite quickly. Yeah. I'm an arcade heritage of a lot of games that make me have to really... I still think there's, at this time especially, and it exists in me to this day, I've still got that legacy. I need to know what I'm doing quite quickly. I need to know what the controls are quite quickly for me to be able to get on with that game. If I have to sort of take time and to really learn stuff in the game, and I don't get payoff fairly quickly, then I don't get into it, and this game does do that. That's not a fault of the game, though. That's just the way I have come to understand playing these games. However, this game didn't tickle my fancy back then. I didn't go and buy Quake Minus One. I was very much aware of it. It didn't come out with a mega review in Zapped. Kind of a mid to average. It was below 70. It was all right, and I think for the same reasons. I think they were. Some people liked it, some people didn't. It is a bit Marmite in that respect. Although I hesitate to use the term Marmite. Lots of great ideas, visually quite interesting, a bit flicky for me, but I just didn't really have a clue what I was doing or what I was meant to do quick enough, and that meant that it was just I moved on. I thought that in an issue where we've got Mercenary getting 98%, and the praise, the openness, and the to doing that, and the thingy, and then this getting 67, I thought was a bit weird personally. I think they share some common DNA, in that they ask a lot of you, and I thought the review of this was, and their views on it were a little bit harsh. I would put it higher personally, but that's just me. I think that if you look at them as two worlds to explore, Mercenary looks more like a world you can explore, even if it's very basic and vectory and all those problems. This looks like lots of graphics all over the place. Lots of things to click on, lots of icons to think about, lots of stuff going on. Not all of it makes immediate sense. And when it comes to this kind of Windows icons and menus driven game, so a WIMP game, when it comes to those kind of, the icons have to make contextual sense quite quickly in order for it to make sense. You don't have that problem with Mercenary because the joystick is forwards, backwards, left, right, and in, and you've got a few keyboard controls. With this, your movements, your missile choices and weapons and all of that is all selectable, which is great. You've just got to get used to doing it that way. When you do, I imagine there's all sorts of amazing gameplay to be had. But I didn't get that far.
I got into it and was actually making some progress. At first, I was like, oh, God, I don't know what the hell's going on here, sort of thing, and I couldn't quite figure it out. But once I had figured the way through those icons, I found them quite clear, and I got my head around it quite easily, fairly. And I didn't even look for any instructions or anything either. So it something either twigged in me, and for some reason, normally these kind of games I'd be like, ugh, and I'd never had any particular affinity with this back in the past. I don't remember really playing it very much. I remember that loading screen, so I did actually play it, but I think back then I found it absolutely 100% impenetrable. Whether now my patience is a little bit different and I'm a bit more versed in this is, kind of seeing what this is trying to do, and other games that have done it a lot over time, I could probably sort of, okay, I see what they're doing here. I see what they're trying to do. And knowing that obviously Mike Singleton, what did he do? Did Lords of Midnight, didn't he? So it's that, it's those kind of concept-y type complex game sort of thing. And I didn't particularly like Lords of Midnight, but there was just something in this, I think, within its overall attempt to do a thing that I appreciated. And I get, I absolutely 100% get if you want quick gratification, this ain't gonna float your boat, and that's not a bad thing, and it's not a wrong thing. It's just different games for different people. It's one of them things.
Well, it is, but also the central premise and concept of this game belies what it looks like. So, this is meant to be set in mid-Atlantic ridges and coasts of Africa and America and where the computers are, and it's meant to represent that world, and I don't feel like it was a very good representation of that space. It felt more sci-fi and inside a computer. I can imagine if this was Tron, and and that was a representation of the universe of Tron, it would work better in that context than it does in this kind of way. But you know what?
Yeah,
you just got to get it.
Yeah.
But the graphics and how they're represented are just the game space. You get into that, and then once you're in the zone, you're in the zone, right?
Yeah.
I think you should go and explore it. As give it a shot. I think you might be right. I think it's perhaps been a bit undersold, considering its score, or Mercenary was oversold, whichever you look at it, one of the two. But
yeah, it's one of the two. I think they're probably more, one comes up and one comes down a bit personally, but
yeah.
There you go. Right, so that's Quake Minus One, an equation we don't quite understand, but is fun. Not fun, but is intriguing enough to actually investigate, similar to Hacker or something like that, I guess. There you go. To our next game. Is this our last game for this section? It is. This is our last game for this section. Graham, tell us about the arcade, the port of Kung Fu Master. This is probably more up your street, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
totally.
guess.
I really like the Kung Fu Master arcade and always have. Kung Fu Master is a arcade conversion, and it is actually contrary to... There's actually a combination of things that are quite interesting about it. So let's just briefly talk about the setup. So Kung Fu Master is actually, in Japan, it's known as Spartan X, and it's actually based on a Jackie Chan movie, contrary to what you might think. But before we all say, well, hang on a minute, it looks like another movie. The main characters are from Wheels on Meals. The main character in Wheels on Meals is Jackie Chan's character, that's Thomas. And in this game, Thomas is the character you play, and you have to work your way up the various levels of the tower to fight different baddies along the way, ultimately saving your girlfriend Sylvia from Mr. X. Now, the idea of the characters is definitely from Wheels on Meals, which is, I say, a Jackie Chan movie. The idea of going up a tower, fighting off different baddies along the way, that's Bruce Lee's Game of Death, without a doubt. So it's actually a game with lots of Kung Fu movie heritage in it. The arcade was kind of a bit of a classic, still is. Great game, very hard. And it was inevitable that you were going to end up with a conversion on various formats. Now, it ain't great graphically, the Commodore 64 version of Kung Fu Master. It isn't. It's a bit blocky, to say the least, and some of the designs of the main enemy sprites are not just blocky, but I think there's actually an absence of real thought behind them. So your sprite that you play as Thomas, you've got the moves you've got, you can kick and you can punch. They're selectable. On the arcade, obviously you can jump as well. That's 3 buttons, jump, punch, and kick. On this version, you have to switch between punch and kick by pressing the spacebar. Now, we've not liked this kind of thing before on these games where you have to switch mode. But you know what? You could just get through the whole game by kicking. There's no real benefit from punching other than you get a slightly higher punch score. And there's no real benefit, and you get a bit closer in. So it's a choice of playing how you play. The idea of the game, you go from left to right, right to left. Various enemies attack you along the way. They either hug you and huddle you, and to the point when you lose energy and health. If you do, you fall off the level and you lose life and you're back to the start again. Otherwise, there's knife throwers, and various different levels have dragons that explode and dwarfs that fly, and it's all sorts of different things on different levels. So it's actually, there's only, 5 levels to the game? And at the end of each level, you get a baddie. The first one's kind of a guy with sticks, and they've all got super weapons. It's Game of Death. That's exactly the same as Game of Death. There's even a giant character, which is what's the basketball player's name who plays the giant? Is it Kareem
Abdul-Jabbar?
Yeah, who plays the giant baddie in one of the levels of the actual film Game of Death. So I suppose the long and the short of it is, how great a conversion is this of the arcade? Graphically, not great, but it captures the spirit of the arcade quite nicely. So you are able to do all the things you are in the arcade. It's a bit more sparse, there's no doubt about that, and the sound effects are lacking, it has to be said. They could have put a lot more effort into that. It has some of the arcade tropes, but not all of them. And the controls are a bit daft, maybe. But it is Kung Fu Master-ish, and you can play through the fight, and it does have all 5 levels, and it does have all 5 of the baddies, and it does have the ending, and it has the start, and it has the trappings of the arcade. When you start the arcade levels, Thomas walks on with a kind of taka 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 taka. Then the music starts ding diddle ding diddle ding diddle 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 ding diddle ding, and then you go off and you play the game. It has all of the trappings of the arcade. So I think it's actually not a great conversion. It's not amazing. It's not going to blow your socks off graphically, but it's a good conversion of the arcade, and that stands for something. So I quite enjoyed going back to this. I like Kung Fu Master a lot, and the C64 version is limited, but at least it's all there. So it's not 2 levels out of the 5. It's not missing some of the baddies. They're all in there. And it is, one thing it has inherited is the arcade difficulty, because this, let me tell you, is a tough old arcade game. It is a hard game. I would challenge anybody, even with infinite credits on an arcade, to spend less than an hour trying to get through all of the levels, because it is a tough old game. Because if you die on that level, you go back to the start. The huggers, the knife throwers, all the rest of it are going to really do your head in. So I enjoyed it. It's a good arcade conversion. It's a 64K machine, so it's not going to have all the trappings of the full arcade, but there's enough there to make it playable, and it got a deserved 79. I think that is a really good score for this kind of game. Did you like it? Do you like that? Do you like Kung Fu Master, actually?
I do. It's fun. It's simple and fun. I put it's a pretty decent port of the arcade original. You walk along 5 corridors and kick people in the face.
Yep.
Or jump over them, which seems rather insulting.
Yep.
There's much kicking in the faces to be had in this, and if you like kicking people in the face, then you probably like this. We're pretty much in agreement, because I put solid, if unspectacular visuals.
Yep.
Decent version of the arcade tune, options to start on different levels, and lots of kicking people in the face. I got to the expanded sprite at the end of the 3rd level. A very expanded sprite, and I enjoyed my time kicking people in the face. If you enjoy kicking people in the face, this is for you.
Yep.
Yeah, because I didn't know about the punch thing. I just kicked, so I don't really remember the punch. So I just kicked my way through things. That music, ding ding ding, like I said, is perfectly fine. It's not slow. It's not sluggish to play. It's pretty nippy. It's fast. It plays well. It looks. I didn't really have a problem with the visuals, in the sense of they're unspectacular, but they look like Kung Fu Master, and that's really all I want. As an arcade port from Data East or whoever did this, good stuff. It's fun. I would always like a go or two on Kung Fu Master in the arcade if I saw one, and so if I did see one, then I would play it, and that's there's no two ways around it. And this is a really good home version in 64K of that machine I would see in the arcade. So yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect, if I was perfectly honest, because I was thinking, I don't know, let's have a look, because I'm not sure how new is the game at this point, sort of thing. When did Kung Fu Master come out? Is it 83, 84? So 84. So it's a year and a bit out. So I'm wondering why it's taken a bit of time. I'm wondering whether it's whether it had been ported earlier in the US and come over. So I wasn't sure. But no, this is a fun arcade conversion. I enjoyed it.
It is. And interestingly, it was one of the top 5 selling games of 1986, apparently. Going to Wikipedia, you believe that kind of thing.
What, for the Commodore 64?
For the Commodore 64, yeah, specifically. But it was a very influential game. Did you know that the Nintendo Entertainment System version was developed by Shigeru Miyamoto.
I did not know that, no.
Yes, there you go. Now you know. So, very influential game.
People
which
like
is odd,
kicking
isn't
people
it?
in the face.
Well, I think if contextually, it's just Game of Death is actually the concept. The film was never finished. Remember, that was the film Bruce Lee was doing before he went halfway through. He went to film Enter the Dragon and died during Enter the Dragon. So Game of Death was never finished. So there's about 100 minutes of the actual Bruce Lee part, and then they finish it with. I hesitate to use the term body doubles. I'm not sure how they finish Game of Death, whether it just ends or whether there's actually enough footage to be able to make it complete, or whether they got a body double.
Is that the one where he's in the yellow tracksuit?
It is, famously, yeah, that's exactly that one, yeah. And of course, it's easy to get confused with Enter the Game of Death, which is the Bruce Lee film, which is not the same. Neither is Enter the Game of Death 2.
Bruce Lee.
Those are very different movies. But Kung Fu Master, I still, you know what? I've been to the arcade club many times, which is, by the way, is it just outside of Manchester? When lockdown's lifted and COVID is a distant memory and the world can reopen, I would advise anybody who's got a bit of time and money to take a trip down to there. They're not a sponsor or anything like that, but it is a great place to go to play some old arcade games. And they've got a Kung Fu Master in there. And I spent a long time playing it. And just like I do with every time I go there and I play Ghost of Goblins, it frustrates me to the point of anger and screaming. So it's still got the magic. It's still got that magic. I found that maybe the 64 version a little bit easier than the arcade, a little bit. I think because there's less enemies. But those grappling and huggy people, they do drive you mad.
And
it's amazing how much that can drive. But like liquor ships on Iridis Alpha, is it? Some of those enemies that when they cling to you and just won't leave you alone, they get off. You find yourself saying those words. Great. Yeah. It's an 80%, 80% conversion. Right score, Zap. Well done. I think it's all right. At least it's all the levels. Something Commando never got, is it? And Ghosts and Goblins later down the line never got all the levels.
I'm not sure it's worth a tenner. I'm not sure you get £10 worth of entertainment. I would have said it was
This is a £8, isn't it? Really? It's it's £7.90. It's a 79%. It's £7.90. It should have been.
I think asking a tenner for this is a bit too much because, like you said, it's. I'll tell you what I do like as well is the ability to you can choose the levels, can't you, to practice them or where you want to start and stuff like that. So that's quite a nice touch as well. So like I said, I got to the third boss, who's the big yellow panted guy. Yeah, and he's massive. He's massive with
big double height sprite.
Oh, I see. That's some expansion going on there.
Oh yeah,
he's got Masso Expancho.
It's not the greatest.
Is that his name?
Sprite Masso. It's not the greatest sprite design in the world. But actually, the rest of the sprites in the game, the little midget guys, the little dragons, and they all look like the sprites from they all look like the game sprites. Weirdly, it's just those boss sprites that seem to lack, especially as you get further up. They just seem to get worse. I mean, that giant one is the worst one of the lot, it has to be said. But and beating them is hard work. You know, it is really hard work.
I found the second level one was easy because he throws a boomerang and then he's absolutely defenseless.
Boomerang guy.
You could just go repeat. You duck under it and then walk up to him and kick him repeatedly in the face, and it's like, oh, you're done.
This is, and actually that should really be it's a boomerang for some reason. But in the arcade, I don't think it may be a boomerang in the arcade, but it strikes me that a kung fu bad guy wouldn't throw a boomerang. It's more likely to be a fan, maybe. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But there you go. That's Kung Fu Master.
A plate with lots of willow pattern on.
Be a worse game if you did it. Never. No. No.
True. Yeah, we like Kung Fu Master. It's good fun. It's just a good port of the arcade original, which is good fun. You know.
Yes.
You can't go wrong with it. It's good fun. There we go. That's our games for this first part. We're going to take a quick break. And we'll be back in a moment with films and TV for March 1986, so stick around. Thanks to our sponsor, DavidHearnWriter.com, where you'll find books and audiobooks that are as cheap as chips. Dave's next book, Escape from the Commodore 64, sees our hero trapped inside their bread bin. They have to complete one of the games they're stuck in to escape. It seems like an impossible mission, surrounded by robots. Perhaps this friendly-looking black balloon drifting towards them can help them escape. The book, ebook and audiobook are all coming out before Christmas, so visit DavidHearnWriter.com. That's David Hearn, Hearne, writer.com to find out more.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Welcome back. Let's talk films and TV for March 1986. Let's get into this. So, TV. What's going on in TV? 5th of March, BBC One aired Season 9 of the US drama series Dallas that began with a feature-length episode. What was going on? Was Bobby back? Was he out the shower at this point?
I was going to say, is this post-season where he had the entire previous season was a dream and he woke up?
Or
is this because one of them had a woman being picked up by a bloody alien spaceship? But that might have been Dynasty, I think, where the famous episode where the alien spaceship came down, a UFO, and took her off in a spaceship.
Oh, yeah, oh God, I've forgotten all about that.
Yeah.
Yes. This is mainstream American TV primetime drama.
It's how you rewrite the book.
Was it Dynasty as well, where they had the wedding and the people ran in and shot everyone?
Yeah, one of them, yeah.
And I read somewhere that they told everyone that they had to renegotiate their pay or their character would be one of the dead ones.
That's right. Something like that.
That's shocking, if true. It's like, oh, you're going to take a pay cut or your character's dead.
Yeah, it was Dynasty, the wedding massacre of season 5.
I'm pretty sure they did that. That would be crazy, wouldn't it? Imagine that now. Imagine if they did that with Friends when that was on. When Monica and Chandler got married and they all got shot by Fun Bobby.
Not so fun. How they ended Blake 7 in the UK. Blake 7 ended with all the characters getting shot to death at the end, including Avon, which was obviously everyone's favourite, Avon.
It was. I've gone on record many a time saying I'm not a particularly big fan of Blake 7, so there you go.
Just re-educate your life. It's a great show of its time.
I've got 9 seasons of Dallas to get through.
You have to suspend your disbelief a lot with Blake 7, but it's got some really great. It's what you say about it's what you say about all BBC sci-fi from circa 1971 to 1982. Great ideas. Always good ideas. They're sci-fi.
Let's just have a slight aside here, because upon listening, just rechecking back to our episode 0, we were talking about Doctor Who, and you told me to go watch the 5 Doctors that robot
The
fight,
Rascalon robot,
which I did today. Upon listening to it, I went, right, what is this he's on about? So I look at it. What
told
the
you, it's
hell was that
awesome.
rubbish?
It's awesome. How many Cybermen get taken down by that guy with his fires arrows from his wrists?
It's just the way he throws them. It's like,
He's a
it's so
Rascalon
funny.
robot.
But it's just the way he just rips their heads off and stuff.
Yes.
It's like the very last one when he just rips its head off. He's like, bah! But it's also it's the way he jumps and teleports had me in absolute hysterics.
Do you know what? When you've got a limited budget, you do what you can. I like the fact that there's just a load of dudes in a quarry getting totally annihilated. It's the way they puke cyber juice. He's like, one of them leans over and goes, and he's just vomiting. It's like, yes.
By a guy in a silver jumpsuit.
Yes. Yes. We must put the video clip on the website. I told you it was good. So it's a very important episode, The 5 Doctors.
Don't get me wrong, just that sequence, you said watch it, I was like, okay, and I was like, it's just to keep cutting back to that same shot of him throwing the arrows.
Yes.
It's like,
I told you, infinite supply of those arrows. I just like the fact that he just takes down an entire squad of Cybermen. It's just the way that I remember him leaning over and puking out brown.
Only 5 at a time though, because they only obviously had 5 suits.
Exactly.
They keep coming up out of that hole. It's like dead, dead.
Yes, they don't share the knowledge, do they, of what's happening up there? They don't go, hang back. There's some kind of crazy silver dude firing arrows at us. Just stay down in the ditch. Don't come out here. I mean, it's very dangerous. He guards the Rascalon Tower. Do you really want me to tell you all this stuff?
I'm just curious as to who this silver jumpsuited nutbag is.
He's put on the planet as a defense system, and he is engaged by the Cybermen. They don't understand what they're on the planet of Rascalon. They don't understand what they're getting into. Cut a very long story short. Now they do understand. Don't mess with a Rascalon robot. It won't end well for you.
It didn't. It's just when he rips the heads off and stuff. It's like,
yeah,
okay.
It's pretty brutal, isn't it?
It is very brutal, but it's also incredibly hilarious with it.
It's a brutal scene, that is.
It's just the way it keeps cutting back to John Pertwee as well. He's clearly not watching that.
No, he's not there. I think some of that footage was filmed totally indiscriminately, so they filmed it all over the place and just bolted it together. So some of those reactions, I'm pretty sure, are to Patrick Troughton's farts or something. He's like, what was that? And just cut it in.
With the powers of modern editing.
Exactly.
He didn't need to be there.
Well, of course, Tom Baker managed to escape that entire episode, so he's not in it. He's trapped in a vortex all the way through.
Lucky guy.
Aye, he didn't meet the rascal on robots.
No.
Easiest cosplay ever, by the way, just saying.
Yeah.
Not for me, though. I am not svelte enough or of the right body shape to wear that kind of outfit. It's unforgiving. Unforgiving.
Yeah. And if I did it, I'd just wrap myself up in tinfoil, and that would look all wrong.
That would not be a rascal and robot. That'd be a Bako foil robot. Not nearly as terrifying.
Why not? As long as I've got an endless supply of arrows, which would be lolly sticks,
Where would you fire them from? That's what I'm worried about.
out my bacon foil.
Just bends over and farts out lolly sticks. No wonder the Cybermen are running away in terror. Like, no, the rascal and robot was bad enough. I am not having my eyes poked out by a farted out lolly stick. Not from nobody.
Non-stick.
It's got a joke on it though. That's good. What's the joke? What's Red Brighton? What? Oh, dead.
Now he's ripped my head off. The bacon foil.
That's your
killer.
MO. You fire out lolly sticks, but by reading the joke, that's what kills them because they're delayed.
Oh, that would be good.
How does this dog smell? Lolly stick to the brain. Shouldn't have read the joke. Never mess with a Bako file robot.
None of this, though, was on film and TV in March 1986.
No.
It was ages ago. If you've listened to episode 0, then you'll know what we're talking about. If
Yes.
you haven't,
We'll put the link
Hey-ho.
on the YouTube, on the thing, and the doodad. Right,
we
next.
need to.
So,
10th of March was the first advert for a sanitary towel.
well, I'm glad we went on about Rascal and robots now.
Broadcast on British television on Channel 4.
Of
Quite
course.
impressive. 10th of March, 1986. There you go. I have nothing to say about that. I just thought I'd mention it.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. 23rd of March, the television play Shergar, which tells the story of the theft of the racehorse Shergar, is aired. Part of BBC Two's Screen 2 anthology series. And the film starred Stephen Rea and Gary Waldhorn. It's weird that we were so obsessed, weren't we, with the... there was a real obsession with the kidnapping and abduction of a racehorse.
Wasn't that pinned on the IRA at one point or something wild? And
I think it was pinned on pretty much everyone, and even I'm pretty sure Saudi Arabian sheiks and stuff were accused of it and all kinds of stuff.
The stable boy left the gate open and it just fucked off. It just went off. Sorry.
Beep!
It just went off.
beeped off.
He came the next day. Shergar, it's your sugar kid. Oh, damn it. And it's a racehorse, so you ain't catching that thing.
What happened? Timmy, what happened? I saw some Irish people. Some big boys let him out.
Yeah, exactly. No, I couldn't have cared less for anything at that point. And then it was announced that Shergar, and I imagine, because it was massive news, wasn't it, at the time?
It was huge.
It was
news.
huge. I just, I remember thinking, isn't it just a horse? But it wasn't just a horse. It was a bit of a celebrity. I imagine it would have won Sports Horse of the Year that year if it had been able to. But it didn't in the end.
Did you just say Sports Horse of the Year?
Yeah, there's bound
Did
to
I
have
just
been
hear
one.
that right?
Yeah, exactly. He might have won that, but didn't get a chance, did it? Poor bloody thing. That was it.
It was offered it, but it turned it down. It said
it.
nay.
Oh dear. Oh dear. It behooved it to accept that award.
Indeed.
Anyway, but nobody knows what happened to Shergar though. Even now, they never found the body. They didn't like you're gonna. They didn't find the body. They didn't find any trace. It's like it vanished off the face of the earth.
It went.
Anyone would think it was chopped up for dog meat or something.
Not me though.
Just
I
saying.
love Krusty.
Yeah, well, I don't like horses particularly. Dangerous at both ends and crafty in the middle, as Sherlock Holmes rightly pointed out.
What?
That's what Sherlock
Did he?
Holmes says about horses. Yeah.
I've got loads of horses outside my house.
Why?
They won't leave me. They won't go away.
Shoo them away. They're dangerous.
It's because I keep wrapping myself in Bako foil, and they're attracted to shiny things.
They
I
are.
also get
They
menaced.
are.
I also get menaced by crows all the time.
The two things they say about horses is one, don't stand behind them because they can kick, and two, never dress in Bako foil because those horses
No.
are wild for it. They'll be like following you around.
Absolutely,
Honestly.
they're licking me like I'm a big bag of sugar.
Well, they will. You are like a sugar lick for the horses now.
There we go. That's how I get my kicks.
Sugar Lick and Shergar was the duo cop series that came after that. But it was
Was it?
It was never to be, no, because Sugarlick was the guy, but Shergar obviously was kidnapped, so it was just Sugarlick, and no one wants to see a TV show like that.
It's just called Sugarlick.
It was replaced with Bootsy and Snudge.
Good old Bootsy and Snudge. They were brought back from the 1960s.
That's on YouTube, by the way. Bootsy and Snudge is on YouTube. I recommend you watch it because it's certainly not as we advertised it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I had a look at it afterwards. It's some military thing in it or something. They're the ex-military.
Yeah, what it ain't is a guy covered in snudge, as far as but you know what? It doesn't matter. Probably is. Anyway, that's poor old Shergar. Poor Shergar.
Poor Shergar, he went missing. That's your TV for March. Let's look at films. 4th of March, Out of Africa. Was this an Oscar botherer? I think it was, wasn't it?
Totally big Oscar. I think, isn't it, what's his name, Robert Redford, is it? In Out of
Robert
Africa?
Redford, Meryl Streep.
Yeah, totally. So it's Oscar. It's got, we may as well just give him the Oscar now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously back then, they were like, you know what? What's the film about? It's about, what is it about? What's South of Africa actually about? 2 people getting out? I don't know. What's it about? It's probably something very dramatic.
Very worthy, and I think there's a lot of talking and probably lots of shots of the savannah. Hey ho, 14th of March.
That's a song
Jagged
by
Edge.
Toto, Savannah.
No, it's Africa.
No, that's Toto did do Africa, but they also did what's the other? Rosanna, not
Rosanna. Savannah.
It's got the famous Picaro shuffle in it. It doesn't matter what it's all about.
Which goes.
Good old Toto. Anyway.
Yeah, we like Toto. Anyway, 14th of March, Jagged Edge.
What was that about?
Jagged Edge is strange enough, I watched Jagged Edge recently when I was in a bit of a 1980s courtroom drama.
Okay. Oh, it's
trip.
a courtroom one, is it?
It's a courtroom drama starring Glenn Close and Jeff Bridges.
Yes.
His wife is killed in a horrible murder, and he is accused of the murder. Glenn Close, he employs Glenn Close as the lawyer to defend him, and it's a did he do it or didn't he do it one. I'm not going to spoil it. It's pretty good. It's actually quite good. It's actually
did he what?
Did he do it? Didn't he do it?
Did he do? Did he die? So.
Yeah. Did he do the crime or did he not do the crime?
Did he do it? Well, I don't know. Did he do? Did you do the crime? Did you do that? You're right. It's catchphrase. Out of Africa, Jagged Edge. Edge is the jagged.
Anyway, it's quite interestingly. I thought upon watching Jagged Edge, considering that 1986, this was quite a progressive film. Glenn Close's character is a single mother working to support, children and everything. She's not beholden to any kind of man or anything. She is sexually active and all that kind of stuff. And she's portrayed in quite a positive manner. This was quite progressive, I thought, at the time, upon a rewatch. And it's actually quite a decent film. Yeah, it's all right. I liked it.
Joe Esterhouse movie, right?
I believe it was, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. When he wasn't doing, before he went all showgirls.
Yes, and directed by the guy that made Return of the Jedi. Random.
Richard Marquand.
Yeah.
Yeah. 20th of March, a week later, we had White Nights, which is Gregory Hines, Mikhail Baryshnikov.
Oh, it's the famous song from that, isn't it? Is it the song with Say You, Say Me? Is that not from this film?
Possibly.
I'm pretty sure Say You, Say Me, the Lionel Richie song, I'm pretty sure that is from White Nights. Yes.
He's a ballet dancer, isn't he, Baryshnikov?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is some kind of sort of detente type thriller or something or other. I don't think I've ever seen it, but I knew of it and I saw it in the video shops a lot. It's one of those I sort of saw.
Yeah.
However, more interest. 21st of March, we had the young Sherlock Holmes, which I still rate to this day. I quite enjoy young Sherlock Holmes. I think it's a fun romp of a film. Do you like it?
Young Sherlock Holmes is actually a very disturbed film.
Absolutely, it is.
Dark film. There's a lot of nasty stuff goes on in that. I mean, that girl gets boiled alive in wax at one point, as I remember it. There's some nasty stuff going on, and a really nice, the first all CGI character as well in a film before anything that Pixar were doing. The Knight,
the stained glass window.
Yeah, the Knight from the stained glass window.
Yeah.
That predates all Pixar. That
blew my mind at the time.
Yeah, totally. And of course, the famous Egyptian god in that is Ramitep, not
Ramitep,
not
Imhotep.
No, because you can't say Imhotep because they probably there's some rule about that. So it's Ramitep. It's a good film, Young Sherlock. The cast was good in it. The guy that played young Sherlock was actually a good young Sherlock, better than the young Indiana Jones that came later. It was good casting. I think it just failed. It failed to reach the audience it was aimed at, which is odd, really. I think it's just out of its time. If you made that film now, with the maybe slightly different cast, but if you made that film and approached it now, I think it would be more successful.
They'd be a bit old now, wouldn't they, if it was a
It'd be old Sherlock. But what I mean is, it's got all the tropes of a Harry Potter type film of its time. But
it has, and there was that one recently on Netflix. What is it, Eliza Holmes or whatever?
Yes, there was.
Which is essentially because this is like prototype tween stuff.
Yeah, totally. It's good.
So and it is good for its time. I also. There's a bit where Holmes is nearly killed by having sweet treats, muffins and stuff, and cream cakes shoved in his mouth.
That's right.
That sequence where he hallucinates all the cream cakes and stuff with legs and stuff coming alive to kill him is quite
clever.
Disturbing.
Have you seen the pedigree of people behind this film?
It's a Spielberg one, isn't it?
It's Barry Levinson directed and written by Chris Columbus. So essentially, yes, Spielberg.
Spielberg produced it, didn't he?
Yeah, totally. But those trio were kind of interchange roles. But I think when they're together, their films kind of become a one conjoined experience.
You can see Spielberg's finger.
Oh, completely.
Fingerprints all over this. It has that mid 80s Spielberg Amblin look to it and feel to it, and it's probably, I'm going to guess, is it a John Williams soundtrack?
I believe it is. Yes, it is.
So it feels like all those films around the time. So things like your Goonies, your Gremlins, Young Sherlock Holmes. There's a slew of these, and this stands up. I enjoy Young Sherlock Holmes, and whenever it's on, I will sit myself down and enjoy it again.
I've watched it a few times on repeat when it's been on TV and stuff. I've always gone ooh at the bit where they kill the girl with the wax. Always because it is pretty grim that.
It is pretty grim, yeah.
Because they're kind of mummified, don't they? And she's kind of screaming and dying and stuff. So yeah, grim.
You could get away with that though in sort of tween films in the 80s.
Yeah, you got away with a lot, didn't he? That kind of little, they pushed the envelope of what was acceptable for a film of that rating.
Let's look at in Temple of Doom, for Christ's sake.
Yes.
There's some horrific stuff in that. Hearts getting ripped out and all kinds of stuff.
Yes, it's all kinds of horror.
All kinds. Right, so there you go. There's not much, but some interesting stuff, some good films. There's actually some good films that are worth a rewatch.
I would go and definitely check out Young Sherlock Holmes. It's available on Amazon Prime right now, so I'd go and check that out.
And I'd say go watch Jagged Edge as well, because that's good too. Don't watch your season 9 of Dallas, though.
No.
That's probably not worth it. There you go. Film and TV from March 1986. Dallas, Sanitary Towels, Shergar, Streep and Redford in Africa, Jagged Edge, Baryshnikov, and Cream Cakes. And animated stained glass windows in Sherlock Holmes. There you go. There's your films and TV. Stay with us for our last collection of games from March 1986. That's coming up after this.
Shout out to our sponsor DavidHearnWriter.com, where you'll find bargain books and audiobooks. Dave's next book, Escape from the Commodore 64, sees our hero trapped inside their bread bin. They have to complete one of the games they're stuck in to escape. Having to fight with exploding fists in one game, suddenly a ball runs towards them. Perhaps it wants to be friends. Book, ebook, and audiobook coming out before Christmas. Visit DavidHearnWriter.com to find out more. Dave's podcast pick is Hardball, named as such because it was so hard to hit that ball. He still digs those graphics though.
Welcome back. That was your film and TV for March 1986. Let's crack on with the last set of games here for this month. First up, what we got first up is Ark of Yesod. Didn't we play this 3 months ago?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So Ark of Yesod. This got a sizzler similar to Nodes of Yesod. It's the follow-up to Nodes and sees Charles following grooms on a distant planet that is remarkably similar to the moon, with a mechanical device that is remarkably similar to the mole, exploring caverns that are remarkably similar to the moons, for crystals being beset by monsters that are you get the picture. This is more Nodes of Yesod. I don't know what else to really say. If this was released now, this would probably be DLC. This would be a DLC pack for Nodes of Yesod.
I agree.
It's bigger, yes, there's more to it, and maybe the graphics are a little better, although I didn't particularly like them as much.
No, I didn't.
I preferred the moon graphics. I thought they were nicer. It's a little bit pacier, it's a little bit faster. It's just more Nodes of Yesod. Nodes of Yesod is, if you don't know what Nodes of Yesod is, it's a platforming game in which you play a very well animated spaceman called Charles Follering Grooms. You explore caverns. It's a bit Metroid-ish, early Metroid-ish sort of thing, in that these caverns, you move through them, you jump from platform to platform with the somersault effect. You have a device. In the first game, it was a mole that you caught. In this one, you have a mechanical device that you can bring out at any point by pushing up and control that to move around and shoot the denizens of the rooms that you go, because this is a flick screen platformer. You have been transported to a new moon or some new area, which follows on from the story of the first game, which included some unspeakable monolith that was transmitting data about Earth back to it, and you've gone off to find out what's going on.
As reviewed in episode 9.
Is that where we looked at it? Yeah.
Yep.
So it's the same stuff. This is just, it's another, no, it's so similar to the first game. So similar. But it's just got some new visuals. I don't know what else to say. It's a full price sequel, and I put, I guess you hadn't had your fill of Node style gameplay, this would be right up your Moon alley. I don't have a Moon alley, so it's not for me. I didn't get on with this like I got on with the other one. I didn't like the music as much either.
No.
It all felt, I don't know, like Note of Yesod had a sense of atmosphere to it, like a sense of a little bit of loneliness and a bit of weird sort of abstraction. There was a strange sense
bleakness.
Bleakness, moroseness, and I think we said that in our review. And this one, it feels chirpy. It feels happy. There's something about the brighter visuals. The music is a bit more happy, and that's not what I want. No. It just doesn't speak to me like Note of Yesod does. So this may be a better game, and Zapped seemed to rate it and say this was a step up, but it's too similar to Nodes, and I don't want any more Nodes. I'm not going to say much more on it because there's not much more to say about it. I don't know what else. Have you got anything you really want to sort of say about it?
I agree. You know what? It is essentially the same game extended. It's like exactly as you describe it. It's DLC. It's the extra levels. It's whatever. Maybe there's an extension to the game plot. It doesn't really matter what the game plot for this is, whether you're on a different planet. It's all the same, essentially. My chief complaint, and I'll keep it brief, is that it just inherits the same problems that the first game. Fix those problems, and it would have been better. But the controls are still a pain in the ass. Jumping around is still a pain in the bottom. It's all just painful. And the same problems that we carefully and accurately describe about this Note of Yesod in episode 9 are the same problems about this game. I just found it clicky, uncontrollable. I was flitting in between screens as I did in Note of Yesod. I suffered the same frustration. This is probably a much bigger game, but I ended up doing the same thing, landing in caves of nondescript Ferriots, things to jump on, not quite jumping on them. It was just more of the same. And so it inherited the same problems. I think they had an opportunity in my world to fix some of those issues and make it a bit more compelling, and they didn't. I think they just changed the background graphic and changed some of the levels around. It didn't feel like they'd really advanced anything here.
By those annoying creatures that walked on the floor that would bounce you off in places. I
think if you like Note of Yesod and you really liked it, you're going to like this because it's the same game. It's just it's more of the same. So fill your boots. But you know what? There is only so much cake you can eat.
So there's only so many nodes I actually want to go down.
No thanks. And it still has that annoying thing where if you hit the wrong thing, it takes one of your orbs off you. And
I barely found anything. I went down a ladder.
I was going to say, I made a note of the exact same thing. Was there anything to collect? Because I didn't see anything, and I went around quite a lot of this.
I was walking along, and then the ground just went out for me, and then I fell down because the ground went out for me, and I fell to my death. And that's not unfair. I don't know whether it was something in the game or something that would open up later, but a lot of routes led to just dead ends. I got the device out and tried to shoot the wall and thought I might be able to burrow through, but there were just dead ends. It was like, yes, you've got maybe 5 million screens. I don't know how many screens are on this one. Was it 512? I don't know. So there might be loads and loads and loads and loads of screens, but if it's just dead ends, so what's the point? Yeah, I also noticed as well, it's weird sort of thing. This was Thor computer graphics, wasn't it?
Was it not Odin?
No, they've changed to Thor. TCG.
Oh, weird.
So they've gone from Odin to Thor. So I'm not quite sure what that was all about.
They've changed deity. I'm not sure what that means.
I know. Maybe the next one will be Frida.
Maybe they were just sat for too long on their seats and all their asses got Thor. Who knows?
Arc of Yesod. It's just more nodes. If you like nodes of Yesod, you'll
dig it.
Probably like this. Or maybe you won't because you've had your fill with nodes of Yesod.
Or just colour. If you wear glasses, just colour them in with a pen, maybe a different, slightly shade of blue or something, and play Notes of Yesod again because it'd be the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much not. Let's move on because I've got nothing more to say about this because there's very little to say. All right, that's that. What's our next game? Graham, Deathwake.
Deathwake. What a great title for a game. Isn't it exciting, eh?
It's an exciting title,
it's,
Deathwake,
it's not,
isn't
though,
it?
the game. It's
No,
just,
it's not.
it's a kind of a crap beachhead. Let's
My
put it
first
simply.
sentence, dull as dishwater beachhead
Yeah, it is
rip-off.
a total beachhead rip-off. So they couldn't even be bothered to name the enemies in this game. So the war over the homeland is on the brink of being lost by the Allies to the enemy. No name of those. That's who it is. Can't be bothered to name them. It's not the the Blinkertrons versus the Quack Attacks or anything ingenious. By the way, you can have that for free if you're thinking of making a game about the Blinkertons. You pilot the captain of the Undaunted.
Makes notes.
You captain of the Undaunted. That's the ship that you're in. And you start
Not
with
the-
the map.
not the Dauntless.
Dauntless, no. You designate resources in a kind of a map attack. So you click on your airplanes, you click on things, they fly and attack, seemingly bear no relevance. Then you get to the kind of arcadey bits. There's two of those. The first one is sail your ships across and avoid being torpedoed, which you can't, by the way. You just can't. No way. There's no way. I mean, I managed to shoot them down a bit, but it's very difficult to do.
Just to say, I never
it's very
shot a
boring.
single plane, but if you just pulled down, as soon as they drop the torpedoes, they just go through the gap.
Well, I didn't bother doing that. I probably overthought it, but I was more keen on, and I got to the other one, which is kind of it's the shooting the airplanes level from Beachhead, which we've already seen in another game that ripped that off as well. So those are the two kind of levels that you have. Graphics are okay, but not amazing, but ripped off because they kind of feel like you're playing a kind of poor man's Beachhead. It's just Beachhead and not a very great version. Sound was all right. The game idea is okay, but it's Beachhead, and Beachhead's a year old now at this point, or thereabouts. So
Yeah.
it was a poor man's Beachhead, as we've said, and it seems weird that they called it Deathwake. And I wonder why we had not come across the Crapvert for it, because I'm pretty sure that's going to be a Crapvert. So
I've seen the advert. It's okay. It's just a boat. It's a fairly decently drawn destroyer boat with some plane stuff, but it was okay. I didn't feel it was worthy of a crap.
I don't know how you win the game. I guess that you win by not dying, because there didn't seem to be an end to it. Because I got through several stages of the ship's torpedo thing, got through that, got to the next bit, had resources, deployed those, went to the next stage, and it seemed to do that forever. I didn't ever seem to go to a point where I was winning, and there was no indication of what I was winning and losing. Not like in games like Defender of the Crown later, where when you win territory, it sort of becomes obvious it's your territory.
Didn't you
It didn't seem
notice
to
the
have
boat
that.
moving along the
Yeah,
channel?
I got that part, but there was on a big map there, and I'm targeting and attacking things all over the shop. It'd have just been nice to know what benefit that actually had, other than
Don't think it
doesn't
did.
matter. Anyway, that was my take. So it got 66% in Zap. I think that was a bit overplayed. I'd have given it
Yeah.
about 50%. It's nothing. There's nothing new about this game. It just felt tired and old, and I've seen it before and done better. So I've said it many times over. If I'm going to play this, I'd rather just play Beachhead, because I like Beachhead, and it's got 4 levels. So
And none of the dullness in the middle.
Well, it's Deathwake. It's not that, is it? It's, it just drives you to a boring sleep.
It's not awake.
No, it's not. It's not awake at all. So no.
Yeah, I put tedious and dull. A game with a name like Deathwake should not be dull. I couldn't shoot down any planes, no matter how much I tried in any of the sequences where I was trying to shoot down planes. So I just had to steer through the mines and the whatever. But they were so easy to do. There was no challenge, so I didn't need to shoot down any planes. I made it to the last one, so where you were trying to get past the ones that were dropping bombs or whatever, so about the 6th phase or whatever it was, and then the game just crashed on me, which seemed rather fitting at that point. I just turned it off. I was like, so I got all the way through, but I don't know what happened at the end, and quite frankly, I didn't care. I was so bored. This is one of, it's not, like, I don't think it's bad, but it's so boring. The most interesting thing is the name of the guy who made it, Jim Baguli, Jeff Baguli.
Jeff or Jim Baguli? Was it Jim or Jeff?
Someone
Doesn't matter.
Baguli.
Mr. Baguli.
Yeah. It's just, there's nothing about it. It's very grey. The visuals, the sprites they're all right. There's nothing. It's so nondescriptly dull, and it's such a bad version of Beachhead. Beachhead has nice sequences that doesn't trap you in this boring map, which I couldn't see the point of. I just sent my planes off to bomb stuff, and then some of their planes bombed some of my stuff, and I just moved on. I couldn't figure it out, and it just pointless.
No.
Pointless dullness. Yeah, no, Deathwake. You can't call your game Deathwake and make it this boring.
No.
Because the other thing as well is you don't leave any
No.
dead stuff in your wake.
No, it offered nothing, did it? Apparently, there's a level I didn't get to, according to the blurb on the interwebs, which is where you have to, like the final level, where you have to shoot through a doorway and stuff. I didn't even see that, but apparently if you don't make it, that's it, you're dead.
I think that was the one I was about to get to before it crashed
you
on me.
lose the war. If you don't get that one shot, you lose the war.
Playing
and
this
that's the end
game,
of the
there
game
are
anyway,
no winners.
No, well, it means that the thing is, if that's the logic of the game, that you get to that bit and one misfire ends the entire thing, then it renders all the previous levels pointless. Take note, you stupid Deathwake designers.
Another one to travel back in time and re-educate.
Well, just, play Beachhead. Stop ripping other games off. Don't make them worse. Don't rip a game off and make it worse. What's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point in doing all that effort?
Anyway, let's move on. This is I'm going to say this sort of thing. This, and I do apologise for this, listeners, but we've got a dull finish to this part. Because next up, we've got Critical Mass by Durell. This got 59%. My first comment on this is this the brownest game on the Commodore 64? There was so much
very brown, wasn't it?
It was almost... I couldn't, it was so much brown. What is Critical Mass? Well, Critical Mass sees you controlling a quite well animated blue vehicle thing you had to traverse a scrolling landscape to get to a nondescript point on the map for some reason to clear that level. The view is, I don't know, is it sort of top down from the back? Sort of
slightly
I don't know how you describe
isometric,
it,
I
really,
guess.
but not quite because you're straight onto the sprite. So it's not quite isometric.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah,
an
you're kind of
angle,
looking
isn't
down.
it?
It's kind of
an angle.
Alley-Cat. Alley-Cat is the sort of close second thing. So Alley-Cat, so
It's got a shadow, hasn't it? Drop shadows.
Yeah, so the sprites are quite nice, your main ship, but it's just like Deathwake. It's utterly dull.
Yeah.
It's so boring. If you get killed, so there's I got to about 4th or 5th level. Essentially, you've got it's that thing like what we had in the Eidolon. It's that classic thing. You're moving along, and as you get closer to a point, the counter goes down. So you just got to get it down to 0, and then you're at the point which completes the level, which is an arbitrary point on the map. There's nothing there. So that sees you moving across. If you get killed by the random sprite that each level has that follows you around and sometimes shoots you, you get ejected out of the ship, and then you're a man in a spacesuit, and then you'll get attacked by giant worms that pop up from the ground, and you have to make your way to a dome where you can get another ship and carry on. You go back, you carry on, you get to the spot, you get to the next level with some awful, awful music. Awful. Just dreadful.
Music felt like it was off some kind of episode of The Antiques Hunt or a TV show for
don't know what
farmers,
it was.
Farmers Weekly. It was weird. It certainly wasn't sci-fi, that's for sure.
It really wasn't. Awful music, dull, move to the next level, carry on in your ship, it's brown, boring. Boring. I'm bored saying this. This is Deathwake sort of thing. I played Deathwake and Critical Mass one after the other, and I was like, oh my god, I was almost forced into a coma of dullness. It was such a double bill of dull.
Yeah.
What did you get any enjoyment out of Critical Mass? Did you find a Critical Mass to get to?
No, it was just weird Antiques Roadshow music, which kind of threw me. I wasn't sure what to expect with it because the premise of the game isn't what I was presented with. So the idea that there's these power stations that are going to overload and go into critical mass, and you've got to find this heavily defended power station and disable it before the reactor explodes, and all this sounds exciting. And then this brown, then appeared the brown. And it's like I was trapped inside a Yorkshire pudding. Just unable to climb my way out, just flying around, shooting at stuff. Its scrolling was nice, don't get me wrong. The way it scrolled and the way it moved around was nice. It felt like Z, but kind of slower version of Z. Like very smooth. And the graphics were quite nice. The actual main spaceship, whatever that is, it looked like a minibus that you're driving around in. And this could easily have been converted to the Scooby-Doo game, couldn't it? Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine. Anyway, but... it was the graphics, that the idea of the drop shadow and the way it was done, and that it had the trappings of something that could have been okay. But I just ended up wandering around Brownsville, shooting at objects in Brownland with brown bullets, trapped in a Yorkshire pudding, and that is not a place I expected to be with this. I never found anything meaningful.
No.
Wandered around, couldn't find a power station or a heavily defended anything. I was just kind of being shot at periodically by things that I wasn't sure. And I noted at the start that it said, if you want to play this game and get the most out of it, I'd avoid joystick. Don't use the joystick.
Yeah.
It's too hard. Use keyboard. It's easier. I'm like, hang on a minute. Are you really telling me this? Is this game telling me to don't use the very thing that's actually designed to use a game? Don't use a joystick. The one thing of hardware that's designed to help you play games. Don't use that. Use a complicated arrangement of keys because that makes more sense. I'm like, are you retarded who made this game?
There's no difference in a digital joystick to a keyboard.
Well, there is in terms of the way you control it.
The way you control it, but as in inputs.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah,
just,
same inputs.
it's just a digital on-off. It's not analog.
totally.
It's just
Yeah,
on-off.
it's just, you know,
You're either moving it left, or you're pressing D, or you're pressing A, or...
if someone said to you when you went to buy a car, don't use the steering wheel, for goodness sake, don't. That's the last thing. There's a keyboard to control that car. Just A is left, D is right. Why would you use a steering wheel, you stupid idiot? There's a reason why things like that exist, controllers, because it makes games easier. I didn't try it on keys. I didn't follow the advice of this game. Maybe it would have been easier to control. I don't think so. At the end of the day, if you're scrolling on the inside of a Yorkshire pudding, it's boring whichever way you do it. And the one downside is it made me want a Yorkshire pudding, which I actually did go and eat. So there you go. Good did triumph over evil.
This was not critical mass and just critical ass.
Yeah, load of critical ass, yeah. If you want to play a game where you're trapped inside a Yorkshire pudding, go for
Well,
that
if it's
one.
critical ass, that's probably why it's so brown.
Oh, God, that's rancid. I think I prefer being inside a Yorkshire pudding than that. Yeah, that's gross, but yeah, I can get it.
If you got a case of critical ass, then you're going to end up with brown.
Exactly. Or just call it, Scooby-Doo Adventure. Change that graphic to the Mystery Machine, and you've got a Scooby-Doo game right there. It wouldn't be that hard to do,
It
would
wouldn't be that hard to do, no.
The music would be awful, though. Can you imagine that Antiques Roadshow version of Scooby-Doo? It'd be that little loop you'd drive you mad in the end.
Down, 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 down. Down, down, down.
Down,
down, down, down, down, down.
do. Yeah, it would be, yeah.
Then it would just loop.
Yeah, and then Scrappy Doo. That'd be the power up, wouldn't it? Whenever you ran over Scrappy Doo,
I'm getting angry. Well, I tell you what, that's critical ass. We could make that into a cartoon game.
Yeah.
What we actually have coming up is a cartoon game. So, yeah, critical ass, no, just boring rubbish. Our last game for this episode, this issue, is Yabba-Dabba-Do. Graham.
It is Yabba-Dabba-Do. Quicksilver hiding behind this monstrosity. So let's give you the premise, just so, because Yabba-Dabba-Do it's a Fred Flintstone game, not by the guy Fred Flintstone. It's Fred Flintstone features in the game. Fred Flintstone's a cartoon character of the Flintstones, and they are a family of cave people, for want of a better description, that kind of a American sitcom cartoon where they live in a land where, what's it called, the land where they live? I want to say it's Bedrock, isn't it? They live in the city of Bedrock. Fred has a job, Wilma is his wife, and they live in a house, they've got kids, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So it's kind of a comedy. Yeah, so it's a sitcom, cartoon sitcom, Hanna-Barbera. They did loads of them. They did the Jetsons, which is very similar to this, but set in space. It's just, that's what it is. So that's the cartoon, the Flintstones. And this is Yabba-Dabba-Do is Fred Flintstone's catchphrase. And this game is based upon that world. So this is set before Fred is married to Wilma. He's got to basically build a house to woo her to come and move in with him, and then seal the deal on his marriage. And it starts with the plot of land, and over time you've got to build up the house and do all of that stuff. Okay, none of that you will ever get to with this game. None of it. You'll load it up, and you'll click on the opening screen, and you'll see Fred Flintstone sprite, and you go, wow, that looks like a quite well-animated Fred Flintstone sprite. And it is. Everything else in the game is absolutely crap. Everything.
Yep.
You can't control him. He kind of runs around, doesn't really mean anything. You're consistently attacked by things that make no sense, little dinosaurs, whatever, just like doesn't happen in the actual cartoon. So you're just kind of running around, not really know what you're doing. And what is it with this episode and games where you push up on the joystick and they go kind of diagonal off to the right? So you can't control the way you want to control it, the way you would expect to control Fred. So he kind of runs and scuttles about. The animation, the main sprite, no problem. But that's as far as the designer ever got. And then after 6 weeks where they've gone, have you got that game ready? He's gone, no. All I've got is a really well-animated Fred. What about the rest of it? I haven't got it. You need someone who can build games. So they got whoever it is who made this, I don't know. And I think this is, as we've said before, this is a license that has been rushed out in a panic. There is a game in there where you collect things and do stuff, but I couldn't get to that because it felt like this game had been rushed out, unfinished. It felt unfinished and quite unpolished. And considering it had such a nice animated sprite, everything else in it was awful, including the really poor sound effects. Everything was poor in this game, with the exception of Fred Flintstone's main sprite, which was kind of a nice high-res sprite. But we saw this with that squirrel game, where they had a nice main graphic squirrel and some nice background graphics. What was it called? The Nightmare on Squirrel Street.
Nutcracker.
Nutcrapper.
Nutcrapper, yeah.
So we've seen this happen before. It just surprises me. This is a big license to make this kind of calamity. And that, again, is disappointing. What that means in real terms, in 1986, is that people paid $7.95. Okay, it's not full price, but people paid money for this because rightly or wrongly, Fred Flintstone, the Flintstones was quite a big franchise. Not as big in the UK as elsewhere, but big enough. And people would have had expectations. And when they saw that, some graphics and screen grabs or screen stills of the game and saw that main sprite, they would have been actually probably sold in it because, that's all you could go by. I can't imagine how upset you'd be if you'd loaded this up and what you presented with was this monstrosity. It's just a rip-off. And what a shame, because there's a good license in there. Hand it over to Durell, put Fred Flintstone in his little rubble car, get critical mass sprites out, put them in, and you've got a decent little game in there where you're running around trying to pick up rocks. I don't know. I didn't like it. What a shame, though. I felt like this was such a missed opportunity because whether you like the Flintstones or not, there's enough characters and materials and situation in there to be able to create a game.
Well, there is another
it.
Flintstones game made about 3 years down the line, so 1988.
Which is better than this. And it surprised me. And what surprised me, actually, on top of all of that, was that they didn't just convert this into some kind of wandering around collect 'em up, which it sort of is a little bit, but a more obtuse one. But you can't like this, surely.
Oh, no. My first comment is Yabba-Dabba-Do.
I knew you were going to say it. That's why I didn't say it.
It's a confusing mess of something. Yabba-Dabba-Doody.
Yeah, Yabba-Dabba-Do. Yeah.
Shoddy. I put a nice Fred Flintstone sprite, as you said, except to me, he looked like he was mashed off his skull. Because
He did look a bit-
he's got that fixed inane grin. He's coked out of his eyeballs.
Yes, he is. Yabba-Dabba off his skull, yeah.
It's like, and I put, and whatever happens to him when he gets in the car, I don't know. Because the graphics take the sprite takes such a change for the worse that it becomes almost like he's been crushed in something.
Yep.
It's horrific.
It's not nice.
I had no idea what was going on. I picked up a rock, I put down a rock. Garbage. This was awful. Like you said, it's impossible to control. There's no real clue what you're supposed to do, and the graphic looks half finished. The sprites just wander about. Fred looks okay. The car is recognisable, but once you get in it, it's awful. This was bad. 60%. Christ on a bike.
I don't know how it got that. I mean, the fact that when you died in the game or when you got hit, you kind of just span round in a weird way. It didn't make sense. And the if I remember rightly, the graphics at the top where it says the Flintstones, it looked like they hadn't coloured it in. It looked like it was just an afterthought. In fact, it looked like the graphics at that point looked like they'd been drawn on Weetabix. It was weird.
Yeah, shredded wheat.
Yeah,
Weetabix.
just what a shame. What a great shame that is.
It was awful. This was a terrible, terrible end to the episode. Which I can only apologise for. That I didn't know. I mean, I saw 3 games in the 60s and thought, the 60s, 59, 66, Deathwake, Critical Mass, Yabba-Dabba-Do. I thought, these might be all right. I'll put these at the end. Turns out they were garbage.
You didn't know.
So I do apologise, listeners. But, sometimes it's fun for you when we get the crap in a row. It's absolutely mortifying to have to play through these sometimes. Oh, yeah, Yabba-Dabba-Do.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, Yabba-Dabba dickhead. That's what I thought.
Yabba-Dabba-Doody. It was terrible. I mean, confusing, just awful.
Just stupid,
shoddy,
shonky nonsense. What a missed opportunity. I say it before, I'll say it again.
Yeah.
Just it just blows my mind. I mean, it's not like the Flintstones are a small franchise. I mean, that's one of Hanna-Barbera's. It's like doing a crap version of Scooby-Doo, which they could have done with Critical Mass if they'd have changed that.
Well, there is
card.
a Scooby-Doo game coming, which I seem to remember that's not particularly very good.
What is going on?
It's a 3-level platformer, if I remember rightly.
Why are they getting this so wrong when it shouldn't be difficult
because you
to
want
get
them out
right?
quick, and taking a risk on something is risky, same as it is now.
At some point, this passed a QA at Quicksilver. Somebody went, right, let's have a look at that Flintstones game you've been working on. Are they Weetabix? Yeah, that works for me. Yeah, no, it's just
they're prehistoric Weetabix, so they were all right.
You
with
can't tell me that there isn't. When these were being released by people that knew they were crap, and I found that quite insulting. They knew.
Yeah, we've said this before. We've said this loads of times.
You know when you've done something wrong. You know.
You've done a bad thing.
Exactly. So
you should sit down and think about what you've
hang
done.
your heads in shame because people paid money for that. Up to 20. It's about what 22 quid, 20 odd quid for that in modern money. It's just you know what, you'd never get away with it nowadays anyway, but just taking advantage of the Flintstones fans like that.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, by the way, I've got a full box full of Fred Flintstone costumes, which anyone can buy for £5. I'm not joking, I haven't really. Anyone who exploits the Flintstones is wrong. Anyone.
The next to is a box of blue underpants.
Yes, there's not so many of those left, let me tell you.
No, they're worn through.
Oh, threadbare. Threadbare.
Fred
yes.
Bear,
Well, I've got some Flintstones underpants.
Flintstone bear.
But they're not very comfortable. They are made of rocks and pebbles. So So, and I don't mean the characters. I mean the
Oh,
actual.
they made out of his baby.
Yes, yes, they are. Yes.
Made of Bam Bam and Pebbles.
That's it, Bam Bam. I could not remember the name of the other kid, but Bam Bam is Barney
Yeah.
Rubble's kid. Yeah,
Yeah.
Go check us out.
Wilma.
With all our Flintstone knowledge.
Betty Rubble.
Barney Rubble. Is it Betty?
Anyway.
Yeah, it's Betty.
It's Betty.
Yeah, and then there's Dino, of course, the Dino dog.
But they see that would have been a more interesting game because I'm thinking that you could have done the Flintstones like Rim Runner, but where you were riding on the back of Dino.
Yes,
Dino.
yeah.
That'd be all right.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
It would have
Which
made
be
more sense to do
interesting,
something like that.
Anyway,
Absolutely, yeah.
Anyway, let's end there because I'm very sorry. There were 3 really crap games at the end there. But you roll the dice.
That's it.
It's what happens. You never know until you play through them, and once I've locked them in, they're locked in.
Sometimes they're just yabba-dabba-diabolical.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, let's go and look at some. We'll be back in a moment for some. Our last lot of Crapverts for this month.
Crapverts.
I'll get you, Crapverts. All right, welcome back. Let's do our last set of Crapverts from March 1986. Our first one is text heavy.
Isn't it just?
And
Goodness.
that's saying something. Even the screenshot is text heavy.
It is.
This is Sci-Fi Trading Company. It's not a terrible advert, but it's like reading something from a newspaper.
It is, yeah. It's like an article, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
full blown article there.
There's so much it's so much text on this. There's 4 columns. You've got columns. This reminds me of our old Apocalypse, our original layout for Apocalypse, our old fanzine that we made. So
it is a bit.
Four columns with a massive picture. In fact, we could have done this page and pasted that picture in.
Who says we didn't?
Who says we didn't? Indeed. But I also like the arched eyebrows on the character that's on that
Yes.
screenshot as well. He looks menacing. He looks like he's judging you for reading this.
He looks like Last Starfighter guy again. He looks like
He does. Yeah.
Zor. In fact, the game looks a bit like
Last Starfighter.
Last Starfighter. Yes, that's it.
That's the one. So this is a Sci-Fi Trading Company. It's another Accolade game. It's very different to Hardball, as we've sort of said. But there's just reams and reams of text and a piece of just says Sci-Fi Trading Company in font, and then the 64 logo, Accolade, US Gold. I do like the fact that it's got superb weaponry. It says at the bottom right. Who am I to question? It has superb weaponry. Intership video link, external viewport, onboard computer, navigational cockpit, superb weaponry. It's an interesting advert, but so much text. There's not much to say about it, is there? But just so much text. Because I'm not going to read it out.
It reads a bit like an average student's GCSE results, that screen. It's a bit weird. I like the Sci-Fi Trading Company logo.
B for missiles, E for blasters.
Did you not study cannons when you was at school?
I was more into my blasters.
The Sci-Fi Trading Company logo is good. It's a good one, and I'll tell you why. Because they've done the kerning and proportionate configuration of typefaces right. For once, the typography is nice. So as much as it's a 4-column news article of an advert, the Sci-Fi Trading Company, the typesetting is actually quite nice in it. The downside is, of course, that you've got microscopic fonts, so that it's clearly it has to over-explain the game, which tells me that there's probably loads of complexity to it, which that screenshot does not convey. So that would be a worry for me if I was looking at this as a purchase. So, and no, nothing says buy me like having an external viewport on an advert, or an intership video link, whatever that might mean. So I don't remember playing Sci-Fi Trading Company. It was that important on the radar for mine. It might be great. I'm sure we will come across it. I don't doubt.
We will come across this, yeah,
Yes.
because I think this, like I said, there's Hardball, Sci-Fi, and Law of the West come out in quick succession
Yes.
from Accolade. They sort of made a bit of a splash.
Nice big screen of the game. Fair play. Give them credit where credit's due.
But they just didn't need the news article around
No,
it.
it didn't need a 10,000 word essay attached to it to sell it. They could have just been a bit more pressy that text a bit, pressy it a bit. Come on.
Yeah, this is because basically you're a pilot a ship to trade stuff. It's a more interesting version of Elite because you're not going from Lave to Dizzo
To Lave.
Dizzo.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Lave.
But I'm pretty sure they could have summarised those endless paragraphs of text in more punchy 1 or 2 sentence, catchy subtitles and subheadings, as opposed to just 4 columns of dirge.
They try to in that bottom right, don't they? It's like bit more of that and a bit more thought behind it, and you just don't need. So it's like someone's written out. Go, just make some kind of advert out of that. This is what the game's about.
And is it me? But does it not actually end?
No, it
Because if
doesn't.
you go to the fourth column at the end, it just ends on the word experienced, and then it actually just stops.
There's no full stop, is there?
No, so it doesn't.
No.
Also, it doesn't make sense. So I'm guessing they probably actually the text overran. They were just like, cut it off at that point. Doesn't matter. It's just text. Doesn't matter.
Should we shrink the picture? Cut it off.
Put it up. No one's going to read it that far.
No, nobody cares. Apart from us, 36 years later.
Yes, and we do care. Damn you, Accolade.
We're coming for you, Accolade.
We are.
Anyway, let's move on to the next one, because the next one makes you think.
Oh God, what is this nonsense? Why has it
It's
got the
think.
same advert twice?
Because you've got to think.
You have. What is it? What is so much?
Think.
So much going on. So how many thinks are on that screen? Tutorial.
Loads of them.
Think. Speed. Think. Blitz. Think. Problem. Think.
Problem, think. And then think.
Think. Played on a 6x6 grid. Think.
What is think? Essentially
think?
a board game. I love that. I love that bit. Why is it not a board game then?
Which, like all the best board games, is easy to learn but extremely difficult to master. Why is that in shouty capitals? It's weird, isn't it?
Played on a 6x6 grid. Think will provide hours of fun and frustration for all ages.
I'm getting the sense that somebody, and I'm not throwing any accusations out there, didn't understand the purpose and placement of an exclamation mark during the making of this advert, because they just went wild with them. They just threw them everywhere. Put them at the beginning of sentences. Why? It doesn't matter. Just put them at the beginning.
That's the Spanish way, isn't it?
Yes, they do. They put one at the start, and an upside down one at the end when it's a statement like that. So you've got instant replays, exclamation mark, but there's one before it, an icon driven, but there isn't one after that. Someone just went mad. It was like, I love that. Think variations.
I know. It's like too much think. Oh, the supreme test of logic and strategy.
I knew they'd have a quote from Popular Computing Weekly at the bottom of this where it was just some blatant, boring superlative. Oh, best game ever played. It's awesome. Yeah, great. Go get it.
To be fair, I'm surprised it's not from Central TV.
I love the optimism in that blue bit at the bottom. Available from all good software retailers. If it's not there, please order it. It's like, yeah, all right, it's going to be there. Don't you worry about that. There's plenty of copies to go around.
Or in case of difficulty, send your... What's it say? I can't quite make it out. What's it say?
It says, in case of difficulty, send your crossed check.
Or postal order.
Made out to... It's an Areola soft game. Goodness, okay.
Yeah, including your own name and address.
Areola soft. Isn't the areola a nipple? Not the area around a nipple.
That's the... I don't think so.
I'm sure the areola's a body part. Could be wrong.
It could very well be. Think about that.
Think about whether this game is about nipples.
Yeah. Anyway, it's only out for the Amstrad
It is.
Spectrum.
An areola is the small circular area of pigment around surrounding the nipple. Wow. That's changed my entire perception of areola soft. It's not spelt quite the same way, but it doesn't matter. It's how you read it, not what it says. Nipple
so
soft.
soft areolas.
This is nipple soft. Think nipples. I bet their logo. This logo could have just been a boob. That would have been perfect. Areola soft. Games about boobs. Think boob.
Nipple.
I love that head. They've got a computerized brain head with an arrow going straight for his eye. But no.
It's a bit like that robot thing in Doctor Who. What you made me watch.
It is, but it's got a robot brain, but really heavily muscularized neck.
Yeah.
So that's weird, isn't it?
They're
And
really
cheeks.
heavy on the muscles, aren't they? In the 80s,
It is.
They do like their sort of skinless muscle.
Yeah, it reminds me, because that's, essentially 95% of the film Hellraiser is a guy that looks a bit like that without a computerized brain. But he's red, isn't he, of course, not grey.
Yes.
At least it's good to know that the computer will set some fiendish problems for you to solve. Or you can set up your own grids for the computer or a friend to solve. So it sounds like it's got loads of scope. Loads of scope.
Speed think and blitz think, they sound like the same thing, just with different wordings.
They do sound
Speed
exactly the
think
same.
says each player has a limited time to make each move, whereas blitz think is each player has limited time to complete all their moves. But if you only have a limited time to make each move, technically you only have a limited time to make all your moves.
Just think variations, AD. Think
Isn't that right?
variations. That is right.
But I suppose blitz think you could take 90% of your time to make one move, and then only have 10% left for all the rest of your moves.
I still don't understand why there's an enormous version of the advert, and then inset, there's a smaller version for the spectrum of the same advert with less text on it. Why? It's just.
Well, I suppose that's the cover of the cassette.
Yeah, but why? The cover of the cassette is also the image. Just don't. Why? No.
Think, Graham. Think about it.
However, I'll just go on the record as saying as much as it does look like they coloured it in with felt tip pens, I like the Think logo at the top. But if you zoom in on it, and feel free to do this, it does look like it literally was coloured in with felt pens. It's got the lines of the felt pen where you can see where they coloured it in, which is kind of terrifying.
I tell you what
really.
I don't like though is the what is Think, because it's alarmingly close to a bit of a Comic Sans-y.
It's getting that way, isn't it? That, yeah, it is. Why? And it's a question. So why has it got an exclamation mark? We don't. Doesn't matter, does it? Doesn't matter.
No, nothing matters. Anyway,
Doesn't matter.
that's Think. Think, and then our last one. It will blow your mind.
God's sake! What? Why? It's a design choice of typeface so crazy that they had to write the actual name in a normal typeface underneath to make it make sense twice.
Yeah. So this is Asylum for Atari and CBM 64128. It will blow your mind. So what we've got here is some purple and blue tiger stripes, kind of like a Battle Cat, except he was green, wasn't he? But they look like tiger stripes in the background, across the main background. But in the middle is, exactly what happens in all, mental health institutions or places like that, where there's a crazy mad guy ripping off one T-shirt to reveal another T-shirt underneath. I think.
He has got a weirdly... I tell you what, he has got a knee injury. Because... Who's that guy coming out the room behind him? He's like...
But there's also another guy in the further room up on the right.
There is, yeah. This
Just
game is
poking
about
out.
coming out of corridors, isn't it?
In the foreground, there's a guy in a nice trousers and thingy hiding behind a door from the crazy guy ripping off his T-shirt to reveal another T-shirt. He's also got a massive right fist.
And a hook.
Clap fist.
Why is he holding a hook?
Because it's Asylum, because he's crazy.
He has got a properly big arm going. His arm's bigger than his legs.
The whole right arm is all wrong.
The whole perspective has gone wrong, and it makes no sense.
The catch tag at the bottom is play Asylum. All you'll have to be committed to is having fun.
Oh, God, because it's set in a prison.
Once you're committed to this asylum, you'll never want to leave, but then you may not get the chance. Hundreds of doors and hallways offer a possible escape from this bedlam created by Screenplay's own inmates.
Well, do you know what? Right, all that sounds like you. Does that to you sound like it's a game where you end up fighting down corridors?
Yeah.
So when you see the phrase "use of complete sentences allows you to reason your way through the endless strange predicaments," doesn't shout fighty game to me. That shouts at text adventure or something. Which
I think it might be a text adventure. It says muscle-bound guards block your path. So is that guy one of the guards?
He's a guard. Yeah, he's a muscle-bound guard. Yeah, worrying.
It's
kind of
worrying.
prison that. But you know what? Say what you
Why
want
is he
about.
wearing two T-shirts?
Say what you want about that prison. They have got a nice tiled floor in there. That is properly nice. So they've taken the time to tile that floor, which is always nice to see. Always nice to see.
Yeah, it is nice to see something, but it does bend downwards. The perspective gets a bit.
Yeah, no grout lines, and the tiles get longer as it goes towards the back as well.
Yeah, they've gone to the Space Harrier School of Tiling.
They have, yeah. And doors with no doorknobs is always, well, I suppose it's a prison, isn't it, really? So, but no actual...
Yeah, but
no
it's got a doorknob on the inside.
Yeah,
but
no
when he's crouching
windows.
behind.
No windows to see in or out. It's, but, what is it?
And
Just stupid.
It reminds me of one of the corridors in Mercenary.
Yes. Oh, my God, yeah, take away all the colour. Yeah, and all the sprites and all the interest and all the point. Absolutely bang on, yeah.
and have that sort of wobbling from side to side.
Yeah.
And it is mercenary corridor.
Yeah, with it continually telling you to put something back. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's exactly the same, yeah.
Put our leader back.
Put our leader back, shouldn't have took him.
But it's another one of those things, isn't it? This is another one of where mid-1980s, where making a game from people in an asylum and making jokes about it is an acceptable form of entertainment for computer, not in a kind of, in a kind of respectful way, but it's just like nutters in madhouses. They're just nutters and they're crazy.
Yeah. Crazy nutters. Look at them. Look at the nutters on that. With their crazy asylum writing that looks all jiggedy-jaggedy and broken glass. And shut up.
Is that Shatter or something?
Yeah, it is a version of Shattered. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
but
it is from All American Adventure, so it's going to be a text adventure. So hopefully, we will never have to get to play this.
No,
and for that,
never.
I'm uniquely grateful.
Yes, because it'll just be talk to prison guard. Prison guard says, "I punch you." You say, "Don't." Complex sentences being what they are. That's a good, reasonable way of getting out of that. I think. Don't punch me. Prison guard says, "Okay."
Ask prison guard, why are you wearing two T-shirts?
And who tiled this floor? Because you've done a marvellous job. It really is a good job.
Can I hire them? I need someone for my back garden.
Bobby's tiling. They did it.
Oh, good old Bobby tiling.
Yeah, Bobby McGee. He's a good tiler.
He lives next to what was I listening to? We heard about Bobby Nintendo in one of the other episodes.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Good old Bobby.
Bobby Nintendo, yeah, and Bobby Tyler, yeah. Like Bonnie Tyler's brother, actually.
Just say that Bonnie's brother.
Yeah, he's a
Once upon a time, I was tiling the floor.
exactly. He could turn around a job quick.
But now I'm only laying the grout.
A total eclipse of my tiles, yeah.
Anyway, that's like Crapverts. Think about all the lettering on the Sci-Fi Trading Company, and then think about the typeface and the madness of Asylum. Let's have a look what was going on in the charts. So which one was this? This is CMVG. Computer and video games, C64 top 10. At number 10 was Critical Ass at number 10.
It doesn't surprise me.
Brown. Little Computer People at number 9. Action Biker at number 8. Kickstart at 7. Winter Games at 6. Last V8 at number 5. Rambo at 4. Commando at 3. Coronis Rift at 2. And Bounder at number 1.
30% of those games are $1.99, I believe, at least, or $1.99, $2.99.
Last V8, Kickstart, Action Biker. Yeah, there's all three of them.
Absolutely. Okay.
So Commodore User had a different top 10. At number 10 was Kickstart. Number 9, Little Computer People. So that's the same. In at number 8 was Kane. Up to number 7 was Mercenary. In at number 6 was Rock and Wrestle, which we haven't looked at yet.
Is it even out?
I don't think so, no. In at number 5 was Coronis Rift. Up to number 4 was Last V8. And number 3, Staying Strong, was Winter Games. Down to number 2 is Commando. But taking its top spot was the other version of Commando, Rambo. So it's the O's. The O's have it. Rambo, Commando. So it's the Schwarzenegger, Stallone face-off up at the top.
It is.
Not quite, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
All right, there we go. That's our lot. That's your charts. That's the games. That's the Crapverts. That's the films. That's everything. What we got to look forward to next episode? We've got Back to the Future. We've got Basil and Bond.
God help us all.
Oh God, Comic
God help
Bakery.
the past.
There's FA Cup. I think these are adventure games. Jerry the Germ.
Oh,
Law of the
interesting.
West, so that's okay. Master of Magic
Interesting.
could be interesting. Non-Tarakas.
Trackers, yeah.
I'm not sure about Pyramid. Phantoms of the Asteroid.
Interesting.
Rock and Wrestle.
Yay.
Starship Andromeda. Time Tunnel. Yi Kung Fu.
Oh, no.
And Zoids.
Oh, goodness me. It's a battle of the music there.
I know, some crackers there. Comic Bakery as well, don't forget. And Phantoms of the Asteroid.
Oh, some heavy hitters in there.
Some
Wow.
musical soundscapes to get down to.
No, it'd be interesting because Zoids is a Rob Hubbard piece based on a non-original piece of music. Yeah, Kung Fu is based on a non-original piece of music.
Yeah,
So
true.
interesting. It's just been interesting to see, I mean, I know Yeah Kung Fu is an amazing piece of music. The game, not so much. But let's deal with that next time.
We will do. So that's it. So I just want to mention, they mentioned us. Thank you very much. That's Hands On Gaming.
Oh, I really enjoyed that. It's a really good one.
It is, yeah. They look at a single game in each episode. They've just started. They used to do podcasts before, but they've restarted again. And they look at a single game across all formats. So they did, the first episode was on Ninja. They looked at the Spectrum C64, the Amstrad, and the Atari versions of that. And it's a really good look because they just, they dive into and pick which ones they're various. So something to go listen to if you like your retro C64 or just retro style sort of video games and you want to go listen to some more stuff. If you want to get in contact with us, you can do. You can get us on Twitter at Zapped You can get us on Facebook. Just search for Zapped to the Past. Same with Instagram, Zapped to the Past. You can email us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. Or you can just go visit our website, where obviously all the Crapverts, list of all the games we've covered. And if you want to get in contact with us there, you can go there and just search for zappedtothepast.com. I think that's it, isn't it?
It is.
Anywhere else?
No, that's currently all the places. A swift Google search of zappedtothepast.com or just Zap to the Past, you're going to find us at number 1.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, that's true, yeah. Or you can go subscribe to us if you're getting this elsewhere, if you maybe listen to us. So if you want to subscribe to Zapped to the Past, podbean.com as well. .podbean.com, so that's another one. So, we're all over the place. If you like what you hear and you like us, then obviously tell people about us. It's always nice. It's how we kind of get more people to listen. More people get to listen to us, the more people listen to us. I don't know what the end of that sentence is. It's a really simple equation. The more people listen to us, the more people listen to us, the numbers go up, and that makes us happy because we play video games and we like numbers going up. And if you do like us, if you listen to us, you can rate and review us on iTunes or whatever. And that's that, really. So thank you for listening. I've been Adrian Mills.
I have been Graham Radding.
And you have been listening to Zap to the Past, and we will see you next week.
Hasta lasagna. Don't get any on you.
Yabba dabba don't.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, sights, sounds and news from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zapped 64 magazine published at the time. We will be back next week with another podcast, so do please join us. Until then, please head over to zappedtothepast.com to sign up to our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources in the show notes. You will also find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram under Zapped to the Past. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zapped 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe and see you next time.